seconds and counting.
Hey, what's good, guys? It's Clips here. It's me here, back with another video. And for today's video, we're talking about the Houston Texans. We're talking about one player in particular that's been getting a lot of love recently on Texans Twitter, on Instagram, Reddit, and all of those places where you can talk Texans. And this player is Texans wide receiver Nico Collins. And recently, in one of those press conference thingies after OTAs, he said that Bobby Slowick, which is our offense coordinator, he said that Bobby Slowick has him watching Julio Jones clips and tape from Atlanta, as he's a similar style of receiver for the scheme. And once you hear that, I mean, that's pretty exciting on itself. Just for him to be watching Julio Jones tape at all, I mean, that's pretty exciting. We all know how good Julio Jones is. He's arguably a top 5 wide receiver in history. Definitely top 10, I think. And for him to be trying to emulate his game, or at least try to emulate his style of play for the specific scheme, I think is pretty telling. I think Nico Collins is probably going to be due for a big season this coming 23 season, and it's for a lot of good reasons. For one, he's actually going to have a real quarterback throwing to him for once, or at least what seems like a real quarterback in C.J. Stroud, a guy who's been labeled as one of the more accurate passers in college football in recent history, and coming into the NFL, probably one of the more accurate rookie quarterbacks in recent memory as well. I mean, he's called himself a ball placement specialist, as his college coach, Ryan Day. He's also called him a ball placement specialist. So for Nico Collins to have a guy who labels himself as that, who's going to be able to put the ball all over the field for Nico Collins, I think that's going to help him immensely. We all saw last year how many times Nico Collins was either overthrown, just not thrown to, and he was wide open quite a few times last year. He just didn't get the ball for whatever reason, and I think we all know that reason, but yeah, there's that. And then, but for him to be saying this stuff about Julio Jones, I think it's pretty exciting because they do match similar size. I don't want to say similar speed because Julio ran a 4, I believe it was a 4.34. Nico ran like a 4.4. So it's not too far off. Nico Collins is still pretty fast for the size that he is. What is he, 6'3", 6'4", like 215, 220, something like that. So they do have very, very similar size, weight, and speed. Obviously, Julio Jones is just a completely different freak of nature when it came to playing football, catching the football. But for Nico Collins to be watching him, and the way he can fit into the scheme, I think is very important. In the scheme, it's not going to be a lot of straight down the middle, straight line routes. It's not going to be like a lot of fade, stuff like that. It's going to be a lot of like horizontal plays, crossing routes, Yankee concepts, just a lot of stuff like that. Simple slants, comeback routes, stuff they can hit easily off the play action game. It's not going to be a lot of straight line speed. And I think that's very important for Nico Collins. I think he's a pretty underrated route runner. I don't think he's that polished as a route runner, at least yet. But he is, he's capable of running pretty much every route in the route tree. I'm not going to say that he can't run routes, but he still needs to get a little bit better at running routes. But when it comes to like running like crossing routes and stuff like that, with his size and his speed, running across the field, it's going to be hard for any safety, really almost any quarterback to keep up with him. And if he has a quarterback that's going to be able to put the ball anywhere on the field, we saw him do it at Ohio State with the guy like similar in size with Marvin Harrison Jr. Nico Collins and Marvin Harrison Jr. both have similar sizes, similar speeds and whatnot. And if Nico Collins can kind of emulate that, I think he's definitely due for a big season in Houston. Probably 1,000 yards, which he's been yet to do in his career. Some of it because of injuries, some of it because of offensive coordinator play or calls, some of it because of quarterback play. So it hasn't been all of his fault, but then at the same time, it's like he should have at least done something by now, something notable. He did have a good start to the year last season, and then, of course, in the capabilities of the quarterbacks with Kyle Allen, Jeff Driscoll, Davis Mills, or the combination of those three, and then the combination of course, Pep Hamilton, that didn't help him at all. And then, of course, with the injuries that Nico Collins had, he did miss, I want to say, like 3-4 games, maybe a little bit more, something like that. So all of that, it hasn't gone in Nico Collins' favor, but he also needs to take more advantage of the opportunities that he is given. And with the quarterback like C.J. Stroud, with the offensive coordinator, obviously he hasn't called plays before, but he does seem like he's gonna be able to do something special here in Houston and Bobby Slowick. So with the offensive coordinator like Bobby Slowick, a quarterback like CJ Stroud, Nico Collins should definitely be in line for a big year. It's already been talked about that Nico Collins has been CJ Stroud's favorite target throughout OTAs. He hit him one day on like a 40-yard bomb. I think that one was just a straight up fade ball. So maybe we will see a little bit of that. Probably rarely, but we will see a little bit of that. And that's just one example. A 40-yard bomb. CJ Stroud put it right on the money. Hits Nico Collins perfectly. Put the ball right over the cornerback, only to where Nico Collins could get it. And that's where ball placement specialist comes into play. And with Nico Collins, he just has to be in the right place at the right time. Make sure he's in front of the cornerback or safety or whoever is covering him. And he's going to be able to be given a chance to make a play on the football. And with the guy who's as big as that, 50-50 balls are going to turn into like 75-25 balls. Because just due to his size. Most cornerbacks aren't 6'3", 6'4", 215, 220 pounds. They just really aren't in the NFL. And then Nico Collins, he has a size mismatch, the speed mismatch for most corners. Most corners run like high or low 4.4s, high 4.5s, like around there. So Nico Collins has a speed and height differential against most cornerbacks, and I think that's going to really help him this coming season with CJ Stroud throwing him the football. And not to mention, Nico Collins is probably going to be the number one receiver, or at least labeled as a number one receiver, I think. Because, I mean, when you look at this receiver core, it doesn't have many players. I mean, it has a lot of players, but, like, not many guys who can come into the season being that number one. Maybe Robert Woods is, like, that number one safest option for CJ Stroud, but when you like line it up in plays like the X receiver, the wide receiver, Nico Collins is probably gonna be labeled as that number one receiver most of the time, as a guy that's gonna be on that first read. So that's gonna help Nico Collins out a lot, and it's gonna help CJ Stroud out a lot. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the video. Just talking a little bit about Nico Collins, why I think he's in line for a pretty big year, and if he doesn't have that good of a year, then I'm not really sure what's going on with him. I mean, all of the tools are right there. What seems to be like a better offensive coordinator, what seems to be like for sure a better quarterback, and more weapons in this receiving room to give Nico Collins more space, more one-on-ones against guys. I think it's going to help him out a lot. But yeah, what do you guys think? Do you think Nico Collins can take that next step in his career to break out, be at least the number 2 wide receiver in his career? I think he can definitely at least be a number 2 receiver in his career for the Texans. But yeah, what do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comments. But it's been Clutch in here, Timid, and hope you guys have a good day. Peace.